The sun hung low over the alien city of Virelia, its golden light spilling over tall, smooth towers that shimmered like glass. The streets were quiet, except for the soft hum of hovering vehicles and the distant laughter of alien children playing near the central plaza. Among the crowd moved Lyra, a young alien girl with greenish-blue skin and curious, wide eyes that always seemed to find the smallest details others missed. She was small for her age, but she carried herself with an unusual confidence, and her mind was always filled with questions about the world outside her home. Today, however, Lyra's curiosity would lead her somewhere she had never been before, a place where no one dared to go. Hidden in the outer edge of the city was a research facility, mostly abandoned since a strange vessel had crashed nearby months ago. Only a handful of scientists still worked there, studying the remnants of human technology that had been recovered from the wreckage. The building's outer walls were scratched and scarred, and the entrance was partially blocked by debris. But Lyra, fearless and unaware of danger, found a small gap and slipped inside, her heart pounding with excitement. She had always been fascinated by the humans, their technology, and the stories of their strange, aggressive nature. She didn't know that today, she would come face to face with the most dangerous human creation yet. The facility smelled faintly of metal and chemicals, a harsh contrast to the sweet aromas of her city. Lyra's eyes darted from one object to another. Broken machines, scattered papers, and glowing containers lined the shelves. One particular container caught her attention, a small vial sealed with a silver cap and marked with symbols she did not understand. The liquid inside shimmered like liquid fire, a swirling mix of gold and red that seemed to pulse with life. Something in her instinct told her to be careful, but her curiosity was stronger than caution. Without thinking, she reached out and touched the vial. Her fingers tingled the moment she made contact, and a strange warmth spread through her hand. Before she could stop herself, Lyra twisted the cap and brought the vial to her lips. The first sip was sweet, almost inviting, but instantly, a shockwave of energy raced through her body. Her muscles tensed, her heart leapt, and a strange fire seemed to ignite inside her. She stumbled backward, hitting a table, and the vial slipped from her hands, spilling the remaining liquid onto the floor. The glow from the serum pulsed and seemed to respond to her movements, as if alive. Lyra's eyes widened in fear and awe. Something inside her had changed, and she could feel it. Every nerve ending, every heartbeat, every thought was sharper, faster, stronger. At first, the change was subtle. Her vision sharpened, colors seemed brighter and more vivid than ever before. Sounds she had never noticed before, the distant hum of power lines, the soft whispers of air moving through vents, filled her ears. She realized she could hear the faintest heartbeat from the creatures outside the building. But soon, the sensations became overwhelming. Her body moved in ways she had never imagined, her legs felt spring-loaded, her arms moved with lightning speed. She tested herself, jumping across the room with a grace and power that frightened her. Lyra's mind raced, a mixture of exhilaration and terror. What had she done? What was happening to her? The first sign of danger came when Lyra's emotions surged uncontrollably. Her curiosity turned into an intense, almost desperate hunger for more. More movement, more sensation, more of everything. She could feel a strange energy pulsing through her body, making her thoughts scatter, her feelings amplify. The hum of the building seemed to sync with her heartbeat, and the air itself felt alive. Lyra's small experiments, tapping a button here, flicking a switch there, soon escalated into powerful bursts of energy that threw objects across the room. Shelves toppled, glass shattered, and sparks flew from the broken panels. Each action she took felt like a release, a way to channel the strange power inside her, yet it also frightened her. She did not understand the extent of what the serum had done. Outside, the city began to notice strange disturbances. Citizens reported hearing loud bangs and seeing flashes of light emanating from the research facility. Hovering patrols were dispatched, and alarms started ringing across the city. Inside, Lyra had moved to the center of the room, her pulse sinking with the glowing vial now empty at her feet. She realized, with sudden clarity, that she was not the same. The serum had awakened something inside her, a force she could not yet control. Her thoughts became erratic. One moment she felt playful, the next she felt dangerous, her power surging without warning. Lyra's reflection in a shattered glass panel startled her. Her eyes now glowed faintly with an inner light, a sign of the transformation taking hold. She tried to calm herself, but every instinct screamed at her to test the limits of this new strength. She leapt to the roof of the facility, effortlessly clearing walls that would have been impossible moments before. From above, she could see the entire city, tiny and vulnerable beneath her. The thrill of power coursed through her veins, but a cold fear began to creep in. She had no control, and the consequences of her actions were unknown. As the sun dipped further below the horizon, casting long shadows across Virilia, the city below had no idea what was coming. One small, curious alien girl had stumbled upon a human secret weapon, and that single act of innocence had set in motion a chain of events that could not be stopped. Lyra stood on the rooftop, her chest heaving, eyes glowing brighter, her mind a storm of curiosity, fear, and raw, dangerous energy. The accident was complete, and the night of the alien city would be the first glimpse into a power far beyond anything it had ever known. The quiet hum of the city was about to be shattered forever, and Lyra, unaware of the chaos she had unleashed, was about to become the most dangerous being Virilia had ever seen. The city of Virilia had never felt so alive and so terrified at the same time. The sun had completely disappeared below the horizon, leaving the towers and streets bathed in a soft, eerie glow from the city's energy panels. Lyra moved across the rooftops like a shadow, her body faster and stronger than anything she had ever imagined. Every movement felt effortless, as if gravity had lost its grip on her. But with each step, she felt the serum's power spreading deeper into her veins, making her senses sharper but her control weaker. The thrill of the transformation mixed with a creeping fear she could not shake. She was powerful, but she did not know what that power meant, or how far it could go. Below, citizens had begun to panic. Alarms rang across the city, warning everyone of a potential hazard in the northern district. Hovering patrols scrambled, but by the time they reached the research facility, it was already too late. Windows had shattered, walls were cracked, and sparks flew from broken panels. Objects hovered unnaturally in the air, lifted by some invisible force. The humans who had created the serum would have called it a success, but here, on Virilia, it was chaos. Lyra, unaware of the destruction she was causing, felt exhilarated, each moment sharpening her instincts and amplifying her abilities. Her first encounter with another being came unexpectedly. A small patrol drone hovered too close, scanning the area. Without thinking, Lyra extended her hand, and a surge of energy shot from her fingers. The drone twisted in the air before crashing into a wall in a shower of sparks. The sound made Lyra startle, a mixture of awe and guilt flooding her senses. She realized, perhaps for the first time, that the serum had made her dangerous. Every movement could hurt someone, and the playful curiosity she had felt earlier had become something darker. Fear coiled in her stomach, but she also felt the intoxicating pull of the power flowing through her. Lyra tried to calm herself, but the serum would not allow it. Her emotions were amplified, every thought was loud, every instinct overwhelming. She could hear the distant footsteps of citizens running, their cries of alarm piercing the night. She could sense their fear, feel it like an invisible weight pressing on her chest. It made her pulse quicken, her body respond in ways she could not control. She jumped from one rooftop to another with impossible precision, her shadow stretching over the city like a living threat. The night that had been calm and quiet now seemed to bend around her, alive with tension. Meanwhile, the city's leaders gathered in the command hall, faces pale with concern. Reports came in quickly. Buildings damaged, energy surges detected, and a single figure moving faster than any known creature. They had seen chaos before, but nothing like this. One advisor whispered, almost to himself, that this was no ordinary accident. This was something far more dangerous. And yet, none of them knew how to stop her. The humans had left traces of their serum behind, and now it had found its way into a living being, a being far stronger and smarter than they had expected. The council realized that the incident could not only destroy part of the city but could also reveal the existence of human technology to everyone, a thought that sent a chill through the room. Lyra's own mind became a battlefield. She felt anger rising in her chest, not directed at anyone but at herself, at the strange force inside her, at the chaos she could not control. She could feel her muscles tensing involuntarily, her mind racing in 1,000 directions at once. She wanted to stop, she wanted to understand, but the serum seemed to have its own will, pushing her toward actions she had never imagined. She moved through the city like a storm, every step leaving a mark of destruction, every movement a test of her new abilities. It was thrilling, terrifying, and addictive all at once. The first encounter with others who could resist her power came when a team of elite alien guards tried to corner her in an alleyway. She had never faced anyone like them, organized, prepared, and cautious. They fired energy nets, attempting to trap her, but she dodged with ease, her reflexes faster than their aim. One guard shouted, warning the others to stay back, but it was already too late. Lyra's strength surged uncontrollably. She reached out, and a wave of energy knocked the guards off their feet, sending them crashing into walls. Some scrambled to stand, others froze in fear. Lyra's heart raced as adrenaline and fear combined. She realized she was beyond their reach, too fast, too powerful, too unpredictable. And yet, a small part of her feared what she had become. The serum's effects were not just physical, they were psychological. Lyra's thoughts became sharper, more intuitive, but also more erratic. She noticed patterns in the city she had never seen before, small weaknesses, energy flows, points of vulnerability. Every instinct screamed at her to test these patterns, to push her limits further. And every action left a trail of chaos in her wake. Citizens ran screaming, buildings cracked, and the night filled with a strange energy, as if the city itself had come alive to respond to her. The once peaceful streets of Virilia had become a battleground, and Lyra was both the storm and the eye at its center. As hours passed, the alien girl realized that she could no longer hide. Her powers were too large, too noticeable, too dangerous to contain. From the rooftops, she could see patrols gathering, ships taking to the sky, and the distant glow of the command hall as leaders tried to coordinate a response. The serum had made her a threat beyond anything the city had faced before. And though fear gripped her heart, a strange exhilaration pulsed through her veins. She had tasted what it meant to be more than ordinary, to feel the raw, unbridled force of the serum coursing through her. And now, nothing, and no one, would be the same again. The night stretched on, alive with tension, energy, and danger. Lyra's transformation was only beginning. Every leap, every movement, every surge of power brought new questions, new risks, and new possibilities. The city of Virilia was about to learn that one small mistake, one sip of a human serum, could turn innocence into catastrophe. And for Lyra, the thrill of power and the terror of what she had become would collide in ways no one could yet imagine. The city of Virilia was on edge. Fires flickered in the streets where Lyra had passed, and the distant hum of energy shields being deployed filled the night air. Citizens huddled in shelters, unsure what force had turned their once peaceful city into a storm of chaos. Lyra herself had not stopped moving since the serum had entered her body. Each moment brought a new surge of energy, her strength growing, her mind sharper, her instincts unpredictable. She could feel the pulse of the city beneath her feet, the vibrations of every footstep, every engine, every heartbeat. The serum had not just changed her body, it had sharpened her senses to an almost impossible degree. The first serious attempt to stop her came from a team of elite alien enforcers, specially trained to handle dangerous situations. They were fast, coordinated, and armed with energy restraints capable of immobilizing even the strongest of beings. But Lyra was beyond what they had imagined. As they surrounded her near the edge of the city's central plaza, she leapt into the air with unnatural speed, dodging energy nets and blasts that would have easily subdued a normal being. Sparks flew as she collided with one of their shields, knocking it aside effortlessly. The enforcers shouted, trying to coordinate their attack, but Lyra was already moving faster than they could react. Every instinct, every twitch of muscle, was amplified by the serum. She landed on a nearby rooftop, surveying the scene below. The enforcers were regrouping, and she could see the glow of command centers lighting up as leaders tried to assess the scale of the incident. For a brief moment, she felt fear, not of being caught, but of what she had become. The power coursing through her was intoxicating, but it was also dangerous. One wrong move could destroy everything she loved about her city. Yet the serum pulsed inside her, urging her to act, to explore, to push her limits. The exhilaration and terror intertwined, making every step feel like a gamble. Meanwhile, human scientists monitoring their serum from a distant research station realized the magnitude of the mistake. The vial, meant to enhance strength and reflexes under controlled conditions, had ended up in the hands of an alien child. Their initial panic quickly shifted to curiosity and calculation. Lyra's reaction was unprecedented. They could see the changes through energy signatures and rapid telemetric data. She was faster, stronger, and more unpredictable than any human test subject. The scientists exchanged worried glances, knowing that their creation was no longer a tool, they had created a force of nature. Back in Virilia, the enforcers tried a new tactic. They deployed energy traps designed to isolate Lyra, cutting off her access to the rooftops and limiting her movement. But Lyra's senses were too sharp, her reflexes too fast. She anticipated their moves, dodging and weaving through the barriers as though they were invisible. A pulse of energy shot from her hands, sending one enforcer flying into a wall. Others tried to advance, but hesitation and fear slowed them down. The girl they had once known was gone, replaced by a creature of speed, strength, and unpredictability. Lyra paused for a moment on a tall spire overlooking the plaza. The city stretched beneath her, trembling with tension. She could feel the fear, the panic, the uncertainty of every living being below. Yet, amidst the chaos, there was clarity. The serum had awakened something within her, a primal power that demanded control but resisted it at the same time. She realized she could no longer remain hidden. Every leap, every movement, every pulse of energy made her a living storm. The enforcers and the city were powerless to stop her, not yet. The first moral dilemma arrived when she encountered a small group of civilians trapped near a crumbling building. Their eyes were wide with fear, their voices pleading for help. Lyra's instincts told her to move past them, to continue testing the limits of her power. But another part of her, a part that still remembered kindness, still remembered what it meant to care, hesitated. The serum's influence surged within her, amplifying both her desire to act and her lack of control. She could help them, but one misstep could destroy the structure, harm them, or worse. The tension built as she hovered over the scene, torn between instinct and conscience, power and responsibility. Her decision came in a burst of action. With precise, careful movements amplified by the serum, she lifted debris and created a path for the civilians to escape. But even in this act of controlled kindness, chaos followed. A stray energy pulse knocked over a nearby support beam, and the building shuddered ominously. The civilians ran, screaming, and Lyra watched, heart pounding, as they disappeared into the relative safety of the night. She had saved them, but the event reminded her of the dangerous, unpredictable nature of the serum inside her. Every action had consequences, and the city was a fragile stage for her newfound power. The enforcers regrouped, frustration and fear etched across their faces. They realized that brute force would not stop her. She was beyond their training, beyond their weapons, beyond what they had ever imagined possible. And yet, they could not simply flee, the city depended on them to act. Every decision they made would shape the outcome of this night, and every mistake could cost countless lives. As the first hints of dawn began to touch the horizon, painting the city in pale light, Lyra paused atop the tallest tower. The serum within her still pulsed, unpredictable and powerful. Her mind was a whirlwind of curiosity, fear, and raw energy. The city below had survived the night, but only barely. Lyra realized that her journey was far from over. The first clash had ended, but the storm she had become was only beginning. The question lingered in the air: could she ever control it, or would she destroy everything she loved in the process? The night had tested her strength, revealed her limits, and exposed the terrifying potential of a single accidental act. Lyra's transformation was no longer a secret. The city knew she existed, the enforcers knew they could not stop her, and the humans behind the serum knew their creation had escaped control. The next steps would be even more dangerous, and Lyra herself felt the serum's pull urging her forward. The world had changed in one night, and nothing would ever be the same again. The city of Virelia had never known fear like this. By the time the sun had fully risen, the streets were a patchwork of shattered panels, toppled structures, and scorched pavement. Energy readings flickered wildly across the command center's monitors, each one marking the movement of a single figure, Lyra. The young alien girl had become something far beyond ordinary, something no one in the city had ever imagined. Every leap, every pulse, every heartbeat resonated with the serum's energy, growing faster, stronger, and more unpredictable with each passing moment. The once peaceful city had become her playground, and its citizens the unwitting witnesses to a force they could not control. Lyra moved through the northern district with effortless grace, her senses detecting every movement below. The serum had made her hyper-aware. She could hear the faintest whisper, feel the slightest vibration in the ground, and see details invisible to ordinary eyes. Yet with awareness came instability. Her emotions surged like tides, each one amplified 100-fold. Anger, fear, excitement, curiosity, all collided in her mind, making it impossible to predict what she would do next. When she raised her hand, objects flew across the streets with uncontrollable force. When she ran, the ground seemed to shatter beneath her feet. The serum had transformed her into a living storm, beautiful, terrifying, and utterly unstoppable. The first real test of her powers came when she encountered the city's central power hub, a network of energy conduits that supplied the entire metropolis. Lyra, unaware of the hub's critical importance, reached out to touch the glowing conduits. A surge of electricity rippled through her, her body absorbing it as though it were fuel. Sparks danced across her skin, lighting up the darkened streets below. The hub shuddered under her influence, lights flickered, and alarms screamed in warning. Citizens screamed and scattered, unable to comprehend the scale of what was happening. Lyra felt exhilaration mixed with a hint of guilt, a fleeting realization that her actions had consequences, but one quickly swallowed by the serum's intoxicating energy. From the command center, the city leaders watched helplessly. Orders were shouted, strategies devised, and containment protocols activated, yet every attempt to intervene seemed futile. Lyra anticipated their moves instinctively, moving faster than any weapon or trap could reach. The serum had enhanced not only her physical abilities but also her mental processing. She saw patterns in the enforcers' tactics before they even enacted them. She calculated angles, predicted movements, and adjusted instinctively. The city's defenses, once formidable, were now fragile barriers against her unstoppable force. The chaos escalated when Lyra inadvertently triggered a domino effect of destruction. A toppled tower crushed several nearby structures, energy conduits exploded in brilliant bursts, and streets buckled under the sudden shocks of her movement. Each incident sent waves of panic through the citizens, and the enforcers were forced to retreat or risk their own lives. Lyra's mind raced. She did not intend to harm anyone, yet her powers were uncontrollable. Every step, every leap, every pulse of energy carried danger, and the city had become a trap for the innocent. Fear gnawed at her heart, but the serum's influence was too strong to resist. Amidst the turmoil, a human reconnaissance ship, monitoring from orbit, registered the scale of the incident. Scientists aboard exchanged tense glances, their expressions a mixture of pride, fear, and disbelief. Their serum, tested under controlled conditions, had never created anything like this. Lyra had exceeded every parameter, evolving into a being of immense power and unpredictability. They knew their creation had escaped control, and the consequences were unfolding far from their laboratory. The thought of intervention, of trying to contain or retrieve the serum's effects, loomed ominously. Yet they hesitated, unsure whether interference would save lives or worsen the catastrophe. As Lyra moved toward the central plaza, the city's defense drones and enforcers attempted a coordinated assault. They fired energy nets, stun pulses, and immobilization fields, hoping to restrain her without causing permanent harm. But Lyra's enhanced reflexes and strength made her nearly untouchable. With a sweep of her arm, she sent drones spiraling into the air, some crashing into buildings, others into each other. Energy pulses radiated from her in all directions, forcing enforcers to take cover. The serum made her instincts hyperaccurate, yet it amplified her emotional state, making every attack more chaotic and violent. The turning point came when Lyra reached the city's central communication tower. She could feel the energy flowing through it, connecting the entire city's systems. In a sudden surge of curiosity and impulsive power, she reached out. Systems overloaded, screens exploded, and a blinding flash of light erupted, momentarily leaving the city in darkness. Citizens screamed, vehicles crashed, and the enforcers were thrown into disarray. Lyra felt the raw energy surging through her, unstoppable and uncontainable. She had become the force the Serum had intended to create, yet uncontrolled, unpredictable, and far more dangerous. For the first time, a flicker of fear entered her mind. The destruction, the chaos, the helplessness of the people below. It was all a reflection of her own power out of control. But alongside that fear, a thrill pulsed through her veins. She was faster, stronger, sharper than she had ever imagined, and the Serum was only amplifying her potential. She did not yet know if she could control it, or if she wanted to. The city had become a stage for her newfound strength, and the question lingered in the minds of all who watched. Could anyone stop her, or had Virilia just witnessed the beginning of an unstoppable force? As night fell again over the city, the streets smoldered, towers flickered, and citizens whispered in fear. Lyra stood atop the highest spire, her eyes glowing, her chest heaving, a living storm of human and alien energy combined. The Serum had transformed her into something beyond imagination, and the city had felt its first taste of her power. The chaos was only beginning, and every moment promised more danger, more questions, and more suspense. Lyra's journey had escalated beyond accident. She was now a force that could no longer be ignored, a being whose actions would shape the fate of Virilia forever. The first signs of human intervention appeared just before dawn, a thin silver streak cutting across the sky, glowing faintly against the pale light of the morning. The humans had arrived, their reconnaissance and military vessels silently observing the chaos below from orbit. Lyra, perched atop the central spire of Virilia, sensed them immediately. The Serum had heightened her perception beyond normal limits. She could feel the faint vibrations of the ships, hear the faint hum of engines, and see the tiniest reflections of light bouncing off their hulls. Her pulse quickened, not from fear, but from the thrill of curiosity. Who were these beings, and what could they do? Back on the ground, the city's enforcers tried to coordinate with the human vessels. Communication was chaotic, but the urgency was clear. Lyra's power was uncontrollable, and without assistance, the entire city might collapse. The humans, cautious but determined, deployed a series of containment drones designed to subdue and neutralize energy surges. They hovered silently above the city, scanning for her presence. Yet Lyra, faster and more instinctive than they anticipated, moved between rooftops and streets, dodging their initial attempts to contain her. Every leap, every pulse of energy, and every thought was amplified by the Serum, making her a blur of motion too quick for the drones to follow. The first confrontation between Lyra and the humans occurred near the northern energy hub, where the city's remaining power conduits were dangerously unstable. Humans deployed a containment field designed to immobilize a being of immense power, but Lyra instinctively pushed against it, her fingers crackling with raw energy. Sparks flew as the field buckled under her strength. She could feel the humans' calculations, their attempts to predict her movements, and she laughed softly, a sound of both exhilaration and frustration. For the first time, Lyra sensed intelligence and strategy in her opponents. They were not like the city enforcers. They were calculated, precise, and, in her mind, potentially dangerous. Yet amidst the confrontation, Lyra hesitated. The Serum had heightened her instincts, but it had not erased her conscience. Below her, civilians were trapped near collapsing buildings, their eyes wide with fear. One step wrong, one surge of energy misdirected, and they could be crushed or electrocuted. The humans noticed the same danger and hesitated, unwilling to harm innocents. For a brief, tense moment, time seemed to stand still. Lyra's body hummed with energy, her mind racing faster than ever, calculating possibilities. Could she move without hurting the humans? Could she control the surge long enough to protect the civilians? In a sudden burst of action, she leapt into the collapsing streets, extending her energy in precise arcs to stabilize the falling debris. Civilians screamed but managed to escape, protected by the controlled force she released. The humans watched in stunned silence. Lyra's powers were immense, yet her mind still sought balance, even if she struggled to maintain it. The serum had made her both dangerous and extraordinary, a combination that terrified and fascinated everyone observing. The humans realized that brute force alone would not work. They needed strategy, subtlety, and restraint. A small team, equipped with specialized suits designed to interact with the serum's energy signature, landed near the plaza. Their goal was not to harm Lyra but to guide her, to understand her, and if possible, to contain the serum's effects. As they approached, Lyra sensed their presence, the hum of their suits blending with the rhythm of the serum inside her. Her instincts screamed at her to strike, to test her power against these new opponents. But another quieter voice, her own conscience, urged caution. Tension crackled like lightning in the air as the humans and Lyra faced each other across the plaza. Sparks flew from broken conduits, wind gusted from sudden energy discharges, and the buildings around them trembled. Every citizen who dared look from the shadows held their breath, knowing that any misstep could be catastrophic. Lyra's mind raced. Could she trust these humans? Were they allies or another threat? The serum urged her to act instinctively, to push forward, to release power without thought. But the consequences of action weighed on her. Every move could save lives, or end them. Finally, a single human stepped forward, hands raised in a gesture of peace. His voice, amplified through the serum-sensitive suit, spoke clearly and calmly. He explained their intent, to help her, not harm her, to understand the serum, not control it by force. Lyra's energy pulsed wildly in response. For the first time, she considered cooperation, not just instinct. The serum's influence wavered slightly, its chaotic energy meeting her growing understanding of her own power. She could feel the potential for control, but also the risk. One mistake, one surge, could undo everything. The standoff continued, suspense stretching across the plaza like taut wire. Citizens peeked from hiding spots, enforcers readied defensive positions, and drones hovered silently, awaiting instructions. Lyra's chest heaved, eyes glowing with a mixture of fear, curiosity, and raw power. The humans, aware of the delicate balance, advanced slowly, their movements careful and deliberate. The serum pulsed within her, echoing the tension in the city below. It was a delicate dance of power, trust, and survival. One wrong step could ignite disaster. As the first light of morning bathed the city in gold, Lyra took a deep breath, her energy rippling through the plaza. She realized she was no longer alone in this chaos. The humans were here, the enforcers were regrouping, and the city watched, trembling on the edge of catastrophe. For the first time since the accident, Lyra faced an opponent she could not simply overpower. Intelligence, strategy, and restraint. And as she hovered above the streets, the serum thrumming in her veins, she understood one undeniable truth. The night of chaos was over, but the war for control over her own power had only just begun. The city of Virilia lay in a fragile silence, broken only by the faint hum of energy conduits and the distant alarms that had not yet fully ceased. Lyra hovered above the central plaza, her chest heaving, her eyes glowing with the raw energy of the serum. She had faced the city, its enforcers, and now the humans, beings whose intelligence and precision challenged even her enhanced instincts. The serum pulsed within her, unpredictable, wild, demanding release, yet her mind had grown sharper, more aware of the consequences of her actions. For the first time since the accident, Lyra understood the magnitude of her own power and the responsibility that came with it. The humans and alien enforcers had regrouped, cautious but determined. They had learned over the previous hours that brute force would not stop her. Every attempt to restrain Lyra had failed, every trap foiled, every energy net torn apart by instinct and enhanced reflexes. Now, they relied on strategy, precision, and cooperation. The lead human stepped forward once more, his voice calm and steady as it carried across the plaza. He spoke of containment, not punishment, and offered a choice, a chance for Lyra to control her power rather than be controlled. His words resonated with her in a way that instinct and adrenaline never could. Lyra felt the serum thrumming violently within her, a force impossible to ignore. It urged her forward, whispered possibilities of limitless strength and unchecked action. The city, the humans, the enforcers, they were all fragile, vulnerable, and yet she held the power to protect or destroy them in an instant. She hovered, energy radiating outward, the air shimmering with her presence. Each heartbeat echoed like a drum, amplifying the tension that wrapped around the plaza. Citizens watched from hidden corners, their fear palpable, their hopes tied to the fragile balance Lyra now faced. The first move came from her instinct. A surge of energy shot outward, testing the containment field the humans had deployed. Sparks erupted, debris scattered, and the plaza trembled under her immense force. The humans responded quickly, adapting their approach, recalibrating the field to harmonize with her energy rather than oppose it. Lyra realized that cooperation, not conflict, could amplify her abilities rather than restrain them. She took a deep breath, focusing on the energy within her, feeling the serum respond not just to instinct, but to conscious control. The next moments became a delicate dance. Lyra extended her power with precision, stabilizing broken structures, redirecting dangerous energy flows, and containing surges that threatened to destroy entire blocks. Every action required careful thought, every movement calculated with both the serum's instinctive push and her own emerging understanding. The humans and enforcers watched and mirrored her motions, guiding energy where needed, creating a fragile network of control that turned potential disaster into a display of controlled power. The citizens, initially terrified, began to emerge cautiously, witnessing a being of immense strength learning to master herself rather than wreak havoc. Even as Lyra gained control, the serum reminded her of its danger. Occasionally, energy pulses burst from her in unexpected ways, a reminder that the power within her was still volatile. Each misstep carried consequences, and she felt the weight of responsibility heavier with every passing second. Yet, she also felt exhilaration, not from destruction, but from the realization that she could wield this incredible force for creation and protection, not just chaos. The city's fragile safety depended on her focus, her restraint, and her willingness to cooperate with beings she had once considered enemies. The climax of the night came when a critical energy conduit, weakened by hours of chaos, threatened to overload. The humans and enforcers prepared for evacuation, but Lyra acted instinctively, channeling the serum's energy to stabilize the conduit. Sparks flew, panels shattered, and the air around her shimmered with raw power. For a tense moment, it seemed the energy might spiral out of control, but Lyra's focus held. The conduit stabilized, the plaza quieted, and a wave of relief rippled through the city. She had not only saved herself, but she had saved Virilia from catastrophe. In the aftermath, Lyra floated above the city, her chest still heaving, eyes dimming from their glowing intensity. The humans approached cautiously, offering communication, guidance, and the promise to help her understand the serum's effects. Lyra looked at them, realizing that the accident that had turned her into a dangerous force had also opened a path for understanding, growth, and control. She was no longer a victim of circumstance. She was a being of choice, capable of wielding power responsibly, or recklessly. The city, now battered but intact, watched her silently, sensing that the young alien girl had changed fundamentally. As the sun rose fully over Virilia, casting golden light across the damaged streets and towers, Lyra felt a sense of calm settle within her. The serum's influence had not vanished, but she had learned, even in part, to master it. The humans had revealed that their creations could be dangerous, but that even the most volatile power could be guided with understanding and cooperation. Lyra hovered, feeling the city's pulse beneath her, aware of the immense responsibility she now carried. She had survived the accident, controlled the chaos, and emerged stronger, wiser, and more aware of both her abilities and her limits. Yet in the corners of her mind, a lingering question remained, a flicker of uncertainty. Could she ever fully control the serum? Or would the next surge of power be beyond her command? The city below, the humans around her, and the serum within her all waited for the answer. Lyra's journey had reached a fragile resolution, but the potential for future conflict, discovery, and adventure remained, a promise that the night's events were only the beginning. The city exhaled a collective sigh of relief, But everyone knew that the young alien girl, transformed by human science, was no ordinary being, and the story of her power, responsibility, and danger was far from over.